The Delusion series. Stopping the chase is enlightenment.
Hello, today, let's dive deep into the material you shared about vexations and delusive thoughts. It's quite interesting. Many people want inner peace, even seeking a state of samadhi, but it always feels so difficult. This material is an excerpt from Dispelling Vexations and Cultivating Samadhi. Its core viewpoint is, I think, a bit direct. It says if you haven't dealt with the vexations and delusive thoughts in your mind, then what's the point of talking about samadhi? It might be too early. It emphasizes this foundation, stating that the key lies in the state of mind itself. Yes, so our goal today is to go through its logic together and see how it discusses vexations and delusive thoughts and why it says that dealing with them is the first step toward inner peace. The material mentions that if the mind can't be one-pointed, if you get carried away by any external disturbance or by what others say, good or bad, then you might not be qualified to talk about samadhi. It even says that the meditation many people practice might just be wishful thinking if they haven't settled their fundamental delusive thoughts, the ideas and attachments they fabricate in their own minds. Yes, this point about the foundation is crucial. The material uses an analogy, saying you can't build a building on mud, right? If you want to cultivate samadhi, you must first unlock the chains on yourself. It mentions 5 major chains, which are the 5 major obstacles we often talk about: greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. These 5 are considered the main hindrances that keep us spinning in vexations. Isn't this a reminder for us to reflect on whether we are sometimes too impatient, wanting to achieve everything in one go, and thus overlooking the most fundamental things? Yes, that's the intention. It then begins to analyze what exactly delusive thought is. How to put it? It believes that many things we relentlessly pursue, like delicious food, beautiful sights, and money, are essentially delusive thoughts. They are acquired later, influenced by the environment and culture. Yes, it gives a few examples that really challenge our ideas. For example, it calls money a number for creating karma, which is interesting. It uses the metaphor of a dead person's hand for beauty, meaning the skin structure is the same as that of a lifeless person. So-called beauty and ugliness are often things we add on ourselves. They are subjective views acquired later. And for the tastes of food, sweet, sour, bitter, spicy, it says they are just different frequencies of ingredients. Frequencies. Yes, indeed, the name delicious is also something people have attached to it. This reminds me of the line in the Diamond Sutra: it is merely called by that name. Exactly, that's the meaning. The name of everything in the world may not be its true reality, so this is actually prompting us to think, how much reality do the things we are so attached to have? How much is something we've concocted ourselves or that society has taught us? Yes, it challenges us to examine our attachments. This naturally leads to the next point: our actions, or the creation of karma, and the mindset behind our actions. The mindset is very important, extremely important. He says that people are always creating karma with everything they do, which produces consequences, both good and bad, and ultimately leads to retribution. But the most fundamental thing is the mind, so the key isn't what you do, but why you do it, what state of mind you use to do it. It gives an example: cutting down a tree to build a house. The act itself destroys a tree, which might be considered bad karma. But if the person's mental thought, their intention, is to cut down the 3 obstacles in sentient beings' minds: the vexation obstacle, the karma obstacle, and the retribution obstacle, the things that hinder liberation, then even if they have to bear the consequences of cutting down the tree in the future, they would be willing. In this way, the mindset completely changes the nature of the action. It depends on whether your mind is connected to vexations or to wisdom. This makes one ask oneself, what is the driving force behind the things I usually do? Am I adding to my vexations? Or am I trying to become more clear-headed? So finally, it proposes a path that sounds the easiest but it's the hardest for us to do. What path? It says the method to achieve arhatship, the state of liberation, is rest is bodhi. Rest means to stop. Yes, as long as you can completely stop the steps of your mind chasing those chaotic thoughts, that very moment is enlightenment. It sounds simple, but we can't do it, right? It says people can't be lazy. On the contrary, they are very active and full of energy when facing greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. This is a very vivid description. It also uses the metaphor of a monkey breaking corn. We hold on to old vexations and have no hands to pick up pure thoughts. And it also reminds us that there are tests on the path of cultivation. Sometimes the best temptations, like the states of the 50 skandha demons mentioned in the Shurangama Sutra, can be the biggest traps. Favorable circumstances can be a trap. Conversely, the worst adverse circumstances, like when the Buddha once cut his flesh to feed a hawk, may look painful but are actually guardian deities helping you progress. Adversity is a helpful condition. Yes, the key is to see if your mind can remain unmoved in the face of good and bad. This returns to the state of mind itself. No wonder it says resting is the simplest, but we prefer complexity and refuse to rest. So, when you look at it all, the core of this material is your state of mind determines everything. It's about whether you can see the illusory nature of vexations and delusive thoughts and then use a genuine, pure, and still mind to let go of those attachments. This is much more important than engaging in any external forms. Resting is the simplest, but people are too complex to do it themselves, indeed. So, here's a question for you to ponder. What is that one thought or attachment that is making your mind the busiest and most unwilling to rest right now?